Class 12th, Subject Physics, 15th chapter, Structure of Atoms and Nuclei. Structure of Atoms and Nuclei. From this chapter, we have already studied Bohr's atomic model and the postulates related with this Bohr's atomic model. Though this atomic model explains the line spectra in case of hydrogen atom, still it will exhibit some of the limitations, and let us see these limitations of Bohr's model. So let us see the limitations of Bohr's model. The first limitation states that this model could not explain the line spectra of atoms other than hydrogen atom. This model could not explain the line spectra of the atoms other than hydrogen atoms. That is, it will explain only the line spectra for hydrogen atoms and not for other atoms. Now, this model also showed, that is, the spectrum, hydrogen spectrum also showed the multiple components in the lines of spectrum which could not be explained on the basis of this model. So multiple components of the lines were present in that spectrum and which could not be explained with the help of this model. The second limitation is that the intensities of emission lines observed to differ from line to line, and Bohr's model had no explanation for that. That is, intensities of the emission lines were observed to be different from line to line. For each line it will be different, and its explanation was not given with the help of this model. Then third is, there was no theoretical explanation of the assumption that the electron will take only that orbit for which the angular momentum of the revolving electron is equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. That is, there was no explanation or theoretical explanation for this assumption. So we can say that there was no theoretical basis for that assumption. So these are some of the limitations of Bohr's model. Now let us see de Broglie's explanation. De Broglie's explanation regarding this. So we have studied that the material particles have dual nature. Sometimes they will behave as particles, sometimes as the wave. That is, dual nature is possessed by the material particles. De Broglie suggested that instead of considering the orbiting electrons inside an atom as the particles, we should view them as the standing waves. So, according to de Broglie, when the electrons are revolving around the nucleus in an atom, they will not be considered as the particles, but it can be viewed as if they are standing waves. So, in this case, around the nucleus, the standing wave is denoted. So, like this, the revolving electrons will be considered as having the standing waves. We know that the length of the orbit of an electron has to be an integral multiple of its wavelength. We know that the length of any orbit, the length of the orbit of an electron has to be an integral multiple of its wavelength. That is, length of the orbit of an electron is equal to integral multiple of its wavelength. Thus, the length of the first orbit will be equal to 1 de Broglie wavelength lambda 1 of the electron in that orbit. That of the second orbit will be twice the de Broglie wavelength of the electron in that orbit, and so on. So in general we can write regarding the length of the orbit, that is 2 pi rn for nth orbit will be equal to integral multiple of wavelength, that is n lambda n, where n takes values 1, 2, 3 and so on. So in this case the length of the orbit of that electron is equal to integral multiple of its wavelength, that is given. And therefore from this relation lambda n will be equal to 2 pi rn upon n, equation number 1. Lambda n, that is wavelength of nth orbit, will be equal to 2 pi rn upon n. Now the de Broglie wavelength is related with the linear momentum p of the particle. The relation between de Broglie wavelength and the linear momentum p of the particle is given as lambda n is equal to h by pn. We know that lambda is equal to h by p, and therefore lambda n will be equal to h upon pn, where pn represents the linear momentum of that electron. That will be given as h upon m phi n, that is pn will be equal to m phi n, equation number 2. So first equation gives lambda n, second equation gives lambda n. From first equation lambda n is 2 pi rn upon n, and from second equation lambda n is equal to h upon pn. Therefore from equation 1 and 2, equating them, we will get h upon pn. This h upon pn must be equal to 2 pi rn upon n, 2 pi rn upon n, and from this we can write the linear momentum pn will be equal to hn upon 2 pi rn, hn upon 2 pi rn. So this will be the value of this pn. So pn will be equal to hn upon this 2 pi rn. So this equation will give us the momentum of that electron, that is Pn. The angular momentum of the electron in the nth orbit, that is Ln, will be given as, now angular momentum we will have to find out, which is nothing but moment of linear momentum. So the angular momentum of the electron in the nth orbit, in this nth orbit, that is Ln, will be equal to Pn Rn, because P into R will be L, Pn Rn, that will be equal to Hn upon 2 pi Rn, that is the value of Pn, into Rn. Rn will get cancelled and we will get Nh upon 2 pi, equation number 3, that is the angular momentum Ln is equal to Nh upon 2 pi, and this is the second postulate of Bohr's atomic model. So according to second postulate of Bohr's atomic model, angular momentum of that revolving electron is equal to integral multiple of h by 2 pi, that is nh upon 2 pi. So in this way, by considering the wave nature, the second postulate of Bohr's atomic model can be explained, and it was explained by de Broglie. And now let us see atomic nucleus and the constituents of the nucleus. That we will have to study the constituents of nucleus. The atomic nucleus is made up of subatomic particles called as protons and neutrons. The atomic nucleus is made up of the subatomic particles, that is small particles smaller than the atoms. These particles are the subatomic particles, and which are nothing but the protons and neutrons. The protons are positively charged and neutrons are electrically neutral. Protons are positively charged and neutrons are electrically neutral. The number of protons in an atom is called its atomic number. the number of protons in an atom is called its atomic number and it is denoted by Z. Similarly, we know that number of protons is equal to number of electrons and therefore the number of electrons will also denote the atomic number denoted by Z. The number of electrons in an atom is equal to the number of protons. Number of electrons is equal to number of protons and therefore Z will be represented by number of protons or number of electrons. This makes the atom electrically neutral. As number of protons, that is positive charge, is equal to number of electrons, that is negative charge, therefore the atom as a whole is electrically neutral. The number of neutrons are denoted by capital N. The number of neutrons present in an atom is denoted by capital N, and the total number of protons and neutrons together in a nucleus is called as mass number of that atom. The total number of neutrons and protons in a nucleus together is called as mass number of the atom and is denoted by capital A. That means we can say that mass number of any atom is equal to its atomic number, that is number of protons plus neutrons, and that is we can write the mass number A is equal to atomic number plus number of neutrons, that is A equal to Z plus N. From this relation we can calculate the number of protons or number of neutrons present in that atom. Now the mass number determines the mass of the nucleus and of the atom. The mass number will determine the mass of the nucleus and of the atom. The atoms of an element X, if you consider any element X, then the atoms of an element X are represented in terms of atomic number and mass number and will be written in this way. That is, in place of H there will be X. This will represent atomic number, this will represent mass number. So here it will be X in place of H, in place of 1 there will be Z, in place of 2 there will be A. So it will be represented, that atom will be represented in terms of the mass number and atomic number. For example, if you consider oxygen atom, for oxygen atomic number will be 8 and mass number will be 16. Similarly for carbon atom, atomic number will be 6, mass number will be 12. So in this way any atom can be represented. Now the number of protons and electrons in the atoms of any given element are fixed. The number of protons and electrons in the atoms of any given element are fixed, and the number of neutrons in the atoms of the given element can change, can vary. That means number of protons and electrons will be fixed and the number of neutrons may change, may vary. The atoms having same number of protons and different number of neutrons are called as isotopes. The atoms having same number of protons, that is atomic number, and different number of neutrons are called as isotopes. That is, for isotopes atomic number will be same and mass number will be different. And therefore if you consider some of the isotopes of hydrogen like deuterium and tritium, then it will be written as hydrogen H having here atomic number 1, mass number 2. Second atom of hydrogen having atomic number 1 but mass number 3. That means in this case the number of protons will be the same, but the number of neutrons will be different. That is, atomic number will be the same, but mass number will be different in case of hydrogen isotopes. Now, the atoms having same mass number A are called as isobars. The atoms having same mass number A are called as the isobars. So in case of again hydrogen and helium, here it is atomic number is 1, here atomic number is 2. Here mass number is the same, that is 3, 3, and therefore these two are nothing but the isobars. Then the atoms having same number of neutrons but different atomic numbers, Z. The atoms having same number of neutrons but different atomic numbers, Z, are called as isotones. So in case of again hydrogen and helium, these are representing atomic numbers and this will represent the mass numbers. So in this case, these atoms will be having same number of neutrons but different atomic numbers, Z, and hence they are called as the isotones. Now let us see the different units for measurement of masses. So for the mass of atom or the masses of the subatomic particles, we can consider different units for their measurement. The units for measuring masses of atoms and subatomic particles are kilogram, atomic mass unit, that is AMU denoted by small u, as well as EV per c square. So the units for measuring masses of atoms and the subatomic particles, that is protons, neutrons, electrons, are kilogram, kg, atomic mass unit denoted by u, and EV per c square. So this will be obtained from Einstein's mass energy relation, that is E equal to mc square. Now one atomic mass unit, so this atomic mass unit u, one atomic mass unit u is equal to 1/12 of the mass of a neutral carbon atom having atomic number 12 in its lowest electronic state. Atomic mass unit, that is one atomic mass unit, that is u or AMU, is equal to 1/12 the mass of a neutral carbon atom having atomic number 12 in its lowest electronic state, and therefore 1 U, that is 1 AMU, will be equal to 1.66 into 10 raised to 27 kilogram. 1 U is equal to 1.66 into 10 raised to 27 kilogram, that is 1 atomic mass unit, that is 1 U. Then 1 atomic unit is again equal to, it is equal to 931.5 mega electron volt per c square. So in terms of this unit, it will be given as 1 U equal to 931.5 mega electron volt per c square. So this will be regarding the different units which are used for the measurement of the masses of atoms and the subatomic particles.